Hey guys, I hope that you guys are doing amazing wherever you are in the world. Thank you again so much for watching my videos and being on my channel, commenting, subscribing, emailing me with amazing questions and suggestions. I really appreciate all of it, and I hope that you guys will keep on keeping on. In this video, I want to speak to you guys about how INFJs have this weird thing about not putting people on the spot or embarrassing people. I think it's because we know how it is to be embarrassed because we spend so much time, on the fringes of society being embarrassed because, we're different. People always try to make us feel bad because we do things differently. So that's okay, we understand. But because of that, we have a lot of empathy for the outsiders. We have a lot of empathy for people who are put on the spot. We have a lot of empathy for people who are shy or invisible or all that stuff, right? We have empathy for people in general. For example, I'll give you a quick example. Recently, yesterday actually, yesterday, I was walking around. I work at a resort, as I told you guys, and so I know all of the happenings at the resort. I know what's going on, but most people don't know that I work there because I hide in the office all the time. I also don't want them to know because, like, why? What's the point? I don't want them to be like, oh my God, she manages like blah, blah. Not only that, because they'll come to me with complaints, but also I don't want them to think of me differently. I just want them to think of me as a random human being walking around, right? So this little girl, this cutie patootie, she was like 11, 12, maybe 13. And she comes up to me and she's like, excuse me. And I'm like, yeah. And she says, there's an open mic night tomorrow. So there's going to be people singing and dancing and sharing poetry and stories. And I'm like, oh. And so, at this point, a lot of people will be like, well, yeah, I know about this stuff. Of course, I live here, I work here, come on. But for me specifically, I was like, but why? Why do that? Why put her on the spot? Obviously, this beautiful little creature, this cutie patootie, has come up to me, and she wants to share some information with me. She wants to invite me to this open mic night. Come on, that's so sweet, right? And so brave of her to do that. So much courage that it takes to go up to a stranger and say, can you come to my open mic night? And so I was like, yeah, oh really? Okay, cool. And she's like, so I asked her, I'm like, are you going to sing? She's like, yes, I'm going to sing. So if you can come and support me, that would be awesome. And maybe you could sing as well, or you could share something. I'm like, oh, that's so sweet of you for inviting me, and thank you, and I'll definitely try to come, right? And so I'm thinking to myself, oh, that's so amazing. Good on you, right? Good on you for being so brave and putting yourself out there, obviously. Singing in front of a crowd, yikes. But more than that, it made me kind of realize how I've noticed this in myself many times where someone will be sharing something and other people are like, oh my God, you've already shared that with us. Why are you talking about this over and over again? I think to myself in my head, okay, how much effort does it take for you just to be patient, listen to the story over again, and be like, okay, cool. Yeah, that's great, amazing. Yeah, why can't you just be patient? We've heard the story before. I know that we've heard the story before. Everyone in the room knows we've heard the story before, except perhaps for the person sharing the story. Why not let them have that moment in the spotlight? Why not let them just share the damn story or whatever it might be? Let them just do it. Why do you have to show to the world and to that person? Put them down, first of all, because they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know I already talked about this. Makes them feel terrible. Really terrible, because they're like, oh shit, I'm talking about the same thing over and over again. But also, it makes them feel embarrassed. You're putting them in the spot. You're making them feel terrible. And you're making yourself feel better. How? How does that make you feel better? That you remember something that someone told you that they don't remember? What's the big deal in that? Or if you know something that they're telling you about and you're like, I already know that. Of course I already know that. How is that useful? I'm not saying do that every single time. And some people just need to be put in their place. They're just egotistical somethings. I don't want to use a bad word, but they're really just egotistical. So yeah, you want to put them down and put them in their place. I get that. Sometimes that makes sense. But for some people, I think to myself, just be patient. Just take it. Just listen to them. They're just sharing something with you. Perhaps you've already heard it before. Perhaps you already know that Trump is president and someone is sharing new information with you, or they think they're sharing new information with you. That's what happened to me when I was living in Thailand and Trump became president. So many people would come up to me all the time like, oh my God, did you hear? Did you hear Trump got elected? And I was thinking to myself, okay, what should I do? I actually do know this already because I've already always obviously followed the news because I was so afraid of him being elected. But, I was like, should I say I already know it? And a lot of times I'm like, no, really? Oh my God. So, just because what happens if you say, yeah, of course I've heard it already. What happens at that point? Basically, what you do at that point is you cut conversation off, is what you're doing. Because that person's going to be embarrassed. They're going to be like, oh, okay. And then they're going to have nothing else to say because they're going to be so embarrassed and they're going to be in their head thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I made such a fool of myself, right? So basically, you cut the conversation off. It's done. Also, the relationship is going to deteriorate at that point as well because they're going to be like, oh, well, this person's a real rude ass. What you can do in order to keep the conversation going is be like, oh my, I had no idea. Shit, what do you think about it, right? In that way, you haven't eliminated the conversation, you haven't cut it off, you haven't done anything like that. The conversation keeps on moving forward. You have a back and forth. You're not talking about necessarily the fact that they know this information and you don't. It's not about an ego thing. It's not like, oh my God, they're better than me because they know information. No, it's not that. It's that you've kept the conversation moving. Now you can be like, okay, so what do you think about this? Like, oh, did you vote for him? Like, what do you think is going to happen in the future? Now you can keep the conversation going. Now you haven't eliminated it. And this happens to me all the time because maybe because I have a very good memory. I don't know what it is. I remember everything that people tell me. It's really odd. It's a weird thing. I don't have a photographic memory, but I do remember a lot of things, a lot more than most people remember. I remember things that happened when I was 3 or 4 years old, and my mom's like, how do you remember that? And so I have a very good memory. And I don't know if this is an INFJ thing because we remember things or because I don't know why, okay? So, but I always know when someone's repeating a story. And it happens to me all the time because they're like, oh, I gotta tell you something. And they'll tell me about this boy that's hitting on them or something, or this trip that they took where they found this really delicious food or whatever it might be, some random story. And I'm like, oh, in my head I'm thinking, oh, they've told me this already. But of course, I mean, there's two ways we can go in that way, right? You can be like, okay, whoa, okay, stop it now. You've already told me the story. Tell me something new, right? You could do that. That's a way to go. But how is that helpful? And how is that useful to that person who's going to feel so embarrassed? I hate embarrassing people. I hate it. I hate it too. But why? Why put them on the spotlight? Why make them feel bad when you can make them feel good? Or just keep it neutral. So you listen to the story, how long it's going to take. How long will it really take? 20 seconds? A minute? A minute of your time? You can't waste a minute of your time and you waste hundreds of minutes every day just doing nonsense. So you can waste a minute, listen to the story. And then the second way you can go is, oh my God, that's amazing. And then you can direct this conversation towards something different so that the person's not embarrassed. You've saved the situation. And you can have a further conversation, right? So like that's one of my things. Like I don't get when people kind of deliberately embarrass people, deliberately put them in the spot, deliberately tell them that, you've already told me this. Have you lost your memory? Like, what are you talking about? Why are you telling me this thing over and over again? I think to myself, ooh boy, okay, just calm down. Just listen to the story. What's the big deal, right? What is the big deal? Like, why do you have to show the world that you're so smart? Why do you have to show the world that you have such a great memory? Why? Like, I mean, why? Why do that to someone else? So they have a bad memory. So what? Is that the worst crime on this planet? Is that the worst thing on this planet? Should you really be making them feel terrible for it? Why? So that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know if it's a thing for you guys as well. Let me know in the comments below. Like, what do you guys think about this? I'd love to hear from you guys. And again, of course, if you guys have any questions or comments or feedback, let me know as well. You can get all of my contact information in the description below, or you can just comment below. Okay? All right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.